Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Dr. Cherry Bernardo Lazaro, and for this lecture, we will be talking about the basic concepts of health promotion. As a start, let me ask first this question. What comes to mind when you hear the term health promotion? This is a question I usually ask my students, whether they're still in school or already in practice. And for this session, I hope you can write your answer or answers to this question in the chat box or the comment section as a way for us to check in and say hi to our co-participants and maybe for us to see if you're really with us now. So again, what comes to mind when you hear the term health promotion? Can say an activity, a set of activities program, or simply what comes to top of mind when one says health promotion. So just type in your answers while I proceed. Section 30 of the Universal Healthcare Law in the Philippines, or Republic Act 11223, mandates the Department of Health to strengthen national efforts in providing a comprehensive and coordinated approach to health development with an emphasis on scaling up health promotion and preventive care. Part of the implementation was the creation of the Health Promotion Bureau, of which functions include formulation of a periodic 10-year framework strategy or the Health Promotion Framework Strategy, which has served as basis for the DOH programs in increasing health literacy. Thus, through an administrative order in 2021, the Health Promotion Framework Strategy, or HPFS 2030, was formulated to provide the framework, direction, and strategies for planning, development, and implementation of health promotion policies, programs, and activities. With a mission and tagline to make healthy behaviors the easier choice for everyone, every time, everywhere, the vision is to have a healthy Filipinas where Filipinos are health literate and health seeking, settings are health enabling, and public policies are health supporting to make achieving optimum health possible. The Health Promotion Framework Strategy 2030 has 5 action areas, 7 priority areas, and 2 implementation approaches. Good as these are written, maybe it would be better to discuss first what are the bases for these. How do this vision and strategies align with the foundations of health promotion? Thus, as a fan of fundamentals such as primary healthcare versus present programs and priorities that could change over time depending on who is sitting, allow me to put some emphasis on basic concepts and fundamentals. Thus, we entitled this lecture Health Promotion Revisiting the Ottawa Charter. We hope that at the end of this session, the learners can analyze how health promotion has been defined in the context of historical highlights in public health, including the Alma Ata Declaration, explain the definition, strategies, and action areas of health promotion based on the 1986 Ottawa Charter, and analyze health promotion as a discipline and practice. This is the outline by which our discussion will flow. And maybe as a personal style of teaching, allow me to ask questions or pop quizzes and reflection prompts alongside inputs and trip down memory lane. So at the start, we posted the question, what comes to mind when you hear health promotion? In my classes, I usually get answers such as health education, IEC materials, mother's class, infomercials, and the like. While improving health awareness and health literacy are some of the ways to promote health, health promotion is more than the activities or programs it is usually known for. So what is health promotion? Before we answer this, let's understand its evolving definition and relate them in historical highlights in public health. So, kwento lang muna ako ng konti. In the ancient civilizations, the concept of health was deeply intertwined with religious and spiritual beliefs. That time, illness was often attributed to supernatural forces and healers. Often, priests and shamans used rituals, prayers, and incantations as primary treatments. It was also during these ancient civilizations, including those in Greece, India, and China, that held an holistic view of health, not merely the absence of disease, but a state of balance and harmony within the individual's mind, body, spirit, and with their environment. While there was no definition of health promotion back then, These early conceptions laid groundwork for understanding health beyond just the physical and often included a strong emphasis on prevention and personal responsibility for well-being through lifestyle choices. By the early 1920s, the foundational elements of health promotion gained traction, coinciding with a marked significant period in the evolution of public health. As reflected in Winslow's definition, the key aspects of health promotion in the 1920s was largely synonymous with a broader mission of public health and heavily focused on preventing infectious diseases through environmental sanitation, basic preventive medical services, and personal hygiene education. Thus, it was also in the 1920s when health promotion, while still not yet formally defined, was largely synonymous with health education within the broader framework of public health. So you see in these pictures mainly public health nurses teaching how to prepare oral rehydration solution as well as advising people in the community how to prevent diseases. While it was in 1948 when the World Health Organization came up with broader definition of health, which is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity, it was movement some decades later or during the mid-20th century that marked the precursors to modern definition of health promotion. One of the major precursors was in 1974 when Marc Lalonde, then Minister of National Health and Welfare of Canada, introduced the health field concept through a landmark document entitled A New Perspective on Health of Canadians, or commonly known as the Lalonde Report. In the report, Lalonde introduced the health field concept, which considers four elements: human biology, environment, lifestyle, and healthcare organization. The report challenged the prevailing notion that health was primarily a product of healthcare system and medical interventions. The Lalonde Report was the first document by a central government of a major developed country that advocated to invest resources beyond health services or healthcare organizations to improve the health of the population. The landmark report has been regarded as the precursor to health promotion. Though may be different in terms of emphasis and weights of the factors, the elements of the health field concept may be observed as somehow parallel with popular image of HATS matter by the Institute of Clinical Systems Improvements going beyond clinical walls publication, specifically in October 2014. That has been adopted or throughout the years. And interesting to know that the HATS matter was a novel video that served as conversation starter. So it uses the analogy of the hats to represent many factors that influence patients' health and often more than the health system, medicine, and other clinical intervention. So since we are very familiar with this image, let's take this question. According to the Institute for Clinical Systems Improvement Going Beyond Walls 2014 publication, what factor influenced more than 50% of the patient's health? Is it A, health behavior, B, health system, C, socioeconomic status, or D, physical environment? So by now we know that socioeconomic status is the factor that influenced more than 50% of patients' health, and that's why this image when it comes to health promotion is very popular. Now, going back to the Lalonde, in those days when the Lalonde report was released, the focus of health policies in Canada and in many other countries were on health insurance for hospitals and medical care. So after a period of doubts and debates, Canada adopted the Lalonde report to become one of the leading countries in health promotion. And as one of the first government documents that highlighted the determinants beyond medical care, the Lalonde Report of 1974 laid the intellectual and political framework for a proactive, multifaceted approach to health improvement. Some years after the Lalonde Report of 1974, we know that the Alma Ata Declaration and its call for primary health care happened in 1978. Just to plug that, there's a lecture on primary healthcare in the PASCOM YouTube channel. It was done during the pandemic, so I know there are a lot of discussions and maybe updates on primary healthcare since that time, but at least the fundamentals were discussed in that lecture. My point in this sort of intermission is that I hope you can visit our social media pages, including our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Now, going back to the Alma Ata Declaration of Primary Health Care in 1978, we know that the declaration argued for a more holistic, accessible, and people-centered approach to health by recognizing that health for all could not be achieved through medical interventions alone. It highlighted the need for action on social and economic determinants of health like food, water, housing, education, peace, and seeing them as integral to primary health care and overall development. Then, building on the progress made through the Alma Ata Declaration on Primary Health Care and its call for intersectoral action for health, the first international conference on health promotion was held on November 21, 1986 in Ottawa, Canada. During the said conference, more than 200 participants from 38 countries met in Ottawa to exchange experiences and share knowledge of health promotion. The conference stimulated an open dialogue among health workers, politicians, academics, and representatives of governmental, voluntary, and community organizations. The Ottawa Charter gave rise to the foundational document that gives the most cited definition for health promotion. Let's read together and slowly. Health promotion is the process of enabling people to increase control over and to improve their health. This is the gist of the definition. But let's read further because there are two or three other parts of this definition. To reach a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, an individual or group must be able to identify and realize aspirations, to satisfy needs, and to change or cope with the environment. Health is therefore seen as a resource for everyday life, not an objective of living. Health is a positive concept, emphasizing social and personal resources as well as physical capacities. The definition closes by saying, health promotion is not just the responsibility of the health sector, but goes beyond healthy lifestyles to well-being. Allow me to pause a bit at this definition, and I hope you can try to point out which part or parts struck you and reflect how you now understand health promotion given this definition. You can pause this video a bit as you still try to reflect. As a guide to reflection, you can ask yourselves the following questions. How will you write the definition of health promotion the way you understand it now? And what aspects of the definition of health promotion is or are aligned with primary health care? I hope you can scribble your thoughts, and if you don't have a pen and paper, you can write your thoughts in the chat box. Then again, you can pause this video if you think you need more time. If we look at it, the 1986 Ottawa definition on health promotion enhances the definition of health. It regards health as a resource or means for everyday life and a means to achieve goals and not an end itself. It further states that realization of aspirations, satisfaction of needs, and ability to cope with the environment as necessary to achieve health. And when we say health, it is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. The Ottawa Charter of 1986 also stated fundamental conditions and resources or basic prerequisites for health. These include peace, shelter, education, food, income, stable ecosystem, and social justice and equity. These, are aligned with what we call the social determinants of health. And while we are at this list, you may observe that most probably a lot of times in our classwork, we talk about these things. But I hope we do not forget the first one in the list, peace. I'm not sure if we talk about it in our public health classes, but maybe we should, given its relevance in these times, not just internationally, but also locally. Another prerequisite I want to point out is education. Though even at present, health promotion and health education are used interchangeably, it would be good to emphasize that health promotion is not the same as health education. Health promotion has a much broader perspective and is tuned to respond to developments which have a direct or indirect bearing on health, such as inequities, changes in patterns of consumption, environments, cultural beliefs, and health education is just one of the prerequisites, strategies, and interventions in health promotion. Going back, this is the emblem of the Ottawa Charter for Health Promotion. It includes three basic strategies, which are enable, mediate, and advocate, and five action areas for health promotion, which are build healthy public policies, create supportive environment, strengthen community action, develop personal skills, and reorient health services. We'll talk about these in a bit. Just note that following the Ottawa Charter, a series of subsequent global conferences and declaration further refined and expanded the principles of health promotion. Below are some notable developments of conferences post-Ottawa, but allow me to emphasize on some. While the 1986 Ottawa Charter already listed the prerequisites for health which are aligned with the social determinants of health, it's the Bangkok Charter in 2005 that stressed the importance of addressing the social determinants of health and called for commitments and partnership across sectors, whether government, civil society, private sector, international organizations, to address the determinants of health in a globalized world. The Charter also emphasized critical factors that influence health, particularly increasing inequalities within and between countries, new patterns of communication, commercialization, global environmental change, and urbanization. Again, these issues are also important when we talk about health promotion. And while the elements of healthy public policy was recognized in the second Health Promotion Conference in Adelaide Recommendations, the 8th Global Conference on Health Promotion held in Helsinki, Finland in 2013 moved the concept from a theoretical recommendation to a call for more concrete implementation, consolidating its definition and outlining practical steps and highlighted the concept of health in all policies. A couple of years after the Helsinki Conference in 2013, the United Nations launched the Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs in 2015, which the next Health Promotion Conference built upon. So as we know, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was formally adopted by all 193 United Nations member states and includes 17 targets. Among the SDGs, targeted to health is SDG 3, Good Health and Well-Being, with the goal to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. So following the launch of the SDGs in 2015, the Shanghai Declaration of 2016 Global Conference marked the 30th anniversary since the Ottawa Charter and recognized health and well-being as essential to achieving sustainable development. The Shanghai Declaration also highlighted the role of good governance and health literacy in improving health and the critical role of cities and city authorities in integrating health in all city policies. Even with the developments and conferences later, all lead back to the basic strategies and action areas of the 1986 Ottawa Charter. That's why it's important to discuss, go back, and revisit the Ottawa Charter. The 1986 Ottawa Charter for Health Promotion identified three basic strategies: enable, mediate, advocate. So these include enabling people to achieve their fullest health potential in order to reduce differences in health status and ensure equal opportunities and resources, mediating between differing interests in society for the pursuit of health, and advocating for political, economic, social, cultural, environmental, behavioral, and biological conditions favorable to health. To concretize the strategies, the Ottawa proposed five action areas, which, as you see, start with action words: build healthy public policies, create supportive environment, strengthen community action, develop personal skills, and reorient health services. Although these actions are mostly self-explanatory, each of them is a broad topic on its own. but let's try to briefly go through them. Let's take this question. The Sin Tax Reform Act of 2012, which significantly increased excise tax on alcohol and tobacco products, was created to raise revenue for healthcare and reduce consumption. Under which action area of the Ottawa Charter is this? Is it A, build healthy public policy, B, create supportive environments, C, develop personal skills, or D, reorient health services? So just to wake everybody up, I hope you can post your answers in the chat box. Yeah, answers for this rather easy question. I'll give you some time so that we can see your answers. So, signed by the late President Benigno Aquino, who himself was, I think, a smoker, the Sin Tax Law is under building healthy public policy. Of course, let's not talk about what they did about the funds from the Sin Tax after. Anyway, so the first action area is building healthy public policies. Again, note healthy public policies and not just health policies. When you say healthy public policy, it has explicit concern for health and equity in all areas of policy. And as health promotion goes beyond healthcare, it puts health in the agenda of policymakers in all sectors and at all levels and requires coordinated action that leads to health, income, and social policies that foster great equity. So these would entail diverse policy tools and approaches such as legislation, fiscal measures, taxation, and organizational change. Note also that health promotion should make the healthier choice the easier choice for both the people and the policymakers. So malamang dito nakuha yung mission to make healthy behaviors the easier choice for everyone, every time, everywhere. Thus, building healthy public policy should include identification and removal of obstacles to the adoption of healthy public policies, especially in non-health sectors. So these are some examples of healthy public policies here in the Philippines. So we have Generics Law of 1988, the Devolution of Health Services in 1990, Health Insurance Program in PhilHealth in 1995, our own version of Conditional Cash Transfer, the 4-Piece Program of 2010. Of course, we mentioned already the Sin Tax Law of 2012. Also, we have the Reproductive Healthcare Act of 2012 and the Mental Health Law, as well as of course the Universal Healthcare Law of 2018. Maybe in a separate occasion, it would be good to discuss how these laws are healthy, not just health policies, and how they aim to address social determinants of health. The next action area is create supportive environment. Using the socio-ecological approach to health, we recognize the inextricable link between the people and the environment. Thus, any health promotion strategy must aim at the protection of natural and built environments and the conversion of natural resources, thus creating living and working conditions that are safe, stimulating, satisfying, and enjoyable are part of health promotion. So dito pumapasok yung settings-based approach because creating supportive environment is important in settings where people live, work, learn, and play. Just to highlight some of what I think are supportive environment, most of these pictures are from the net, but it is in a city where I processed the business permit of PASCOM or where our office is located. The city is part of NCR, and although known for floods, it has a lot of good open spaces, including bike lanes. Thus, even though I was in an errand then, just seeing the environment gave me an overall good experience. I wish I lived in that municipality. Now, these pictures and videos were from one of the provinces, yet nice cities in the country where we once went for an international convention. Honestly, whenever I'm in this place, I feel like I'm in another country. And during a night walk, I saw some spaces where the youth do their dance practices. And I realized it was in front of their municipal hall and also a church. The city also made spaces or boulevard where people can simply walk, run, and relax. Gonna guess where this is? Now, let me just jump and go take the next action area, which is reorient health services. With the universal healthcare law, we saw that somehow the priority is shifted to primary care through the YACA program. However, this reorientation of health services is still mostly curative in nature. But note that beyond the responsibility for providing clinical and curative care, the role of the health sector must move increasingly in a health promotion direction. Thus, reorienting health services in the context of health promotion must lead to a change of attitude and organization of health services, which refocuses on the total needs of the individuals and communities to create larger impact. Given this, the responsibility for health promotion in health services is shared among individuals, community groups, health professionals, health service institutions, and governments. Moving back, next in the list of action area is develop personal skills. It is essential that we enable people to learn throughout life, to prepare themselves for all its stages, and to cope with chronic illness and injuries. This has to be facilitated in school, home, work, and community settings. Health promotion supports personal and social development through providing information, education for health, and enhancing life skills. In so doing, it increases the options available to people to exercise more control over their own health and over their environments and to make choices conducive to health. So dito pumapasok yung mga information, education, and communication materials and activities as well as capacity building programs na usually ginagawa natin. And while we are at it, let me point out that while most of the time we do health education, whether as an academic requirement for our students, as service to the communities, or as part of developing people in personal skills, please note that it is not the only action area in health promotion. It may be the low-hanging fruit that may be easy for us to do, but we hope that we should not stop at health education. It should lead us to a greater purpose. And speaking of greater purpose, let me save the best for last and maybe our bias in the 5 action areas, which is strengthen community action. Remember that health promotion is the process of enabling people to increase control and to improve their health and its determinants. Therefore, the way to make health promotion work is through effective community action from identifying needs, setting priorities, making decisions, planning strategies, and implementing them to achieve better health. And in the heart of this process is the empowerment of communities, their ownership and control of their own endeavors and destinies. And although not easy, as catalysts and facilitators of the process of empowerment, strengthening community action is actually part of the practice of our discipline, community medicine. And just like what we usually remind ourselves in all activities in the communities, note that health promotion is done with the people and not to them. Let's take another question. Okay, this time a Dr. Tudoborio wanted to propose to have a community garden in the municipality where she is assigned. This is in order to provide safe, enjoyable spaces for physical activity, social interaction, and even planting medicinal herbs. This initiative falls under, is it A, building healthy public policy, B, creating supportive environment, C, developing personal skills, or D, strengthening community action. So just like before, I hope you can post your answers in the chat box. Again, don't be shy. Sana nandyan pa kayo. So this example is maybe under creating supportive environments. So kasi, di ba, kung titingnan mo, may nag-initiate pa nun. And the purpose is having that space, enjoyable spaces for physical activity, social interaction, and even planting herbs. However, if we say, for example, that the people work together in that community garden to do their community Zumba, their exercise, their meetings, their other initiative. Then another action area that can be included is strengthening community action. But in the context of this question, it's more of creating supportive environments. And again, babalik ako na pag yung community na nag-initiate, di ba, at mas marami na silang ginagawa on their own in that space, then it becomes a community action. So maybe what I'm trying to point in that example is that sometimes some activities can involve 2 or more action areas in health promotion. So maybe it depends on the context or how you analyze the situation. But then sometimes, yun nga, hindi tayo limited na pag ganitong example, it is under only one action area. So we just briefly discussed the 3 strategies and 5 action areas of the Ottawa Charter. In the discussions of definition, strategies, and action areas, we hope you appreciate health promotion as both a discipline and a practice. As a discipline, it draws heavily from sociology, psychology, epidemiology, political science, and education. It uses the socio-ecological lens to analyze the social determinants of health. And as a practice, it involves actual application of the theory to enable people to increase control over and to improve their health through several action areas. To simply put, the academic discipline allows us to analyze the needs and priority areas in health, while the practice allows for actions to address them. As we wind down this lecture, maybe the question now is, are the action areas for health promotion effective? In a study by Jackson et al., they reviewed evidence of effectiveness in relation to the Charter's action areas, and they identified 6 lessons. But let me emphasize on 3. One is that personal skills development needs to be combined with other strategies to be effective. Another is that interventions using multiple strategies at multiple levels and sectors are most effective. And the last lesson would say action areas that cut across the 5 action areas need to occur in different levels for effectiveness. And such processes include intersectoral collaboration, community participation, and political commitment. Remember these terms? Do they ring a bell? Yeah, reminds us so much of the Alma Ata Declaration. To summarize, the definition of health promotion has evolved since the early centuries. The most commonly adopted is the definition from the Ottawa Charter, which defines health promotion as the process of enabling people to increase control over and to improve their health. The prerequisites to health and promoting health mainly involve addressing the social determinants of health. We also noted that health promotion is not just about health education or promoting health literacy. The Ottawa Charter provided us with 3 basic strategies: enable, mediate, advocate, and 5 action areas, which include building healthy public policies, creating supportive environment, developing personal skills, reorienting health services, and strengthening community action. And to be effective, these action areas must be done using multiple strategies at multiple levels and sectors. Let me end this lecture with a quote from Professor Baum, which I got across one of the references in health promotion, or particularly the Oxford textbook of Global Public Health. In that reference, Professor Baum stated, "Understanding how we conceptualize health is a key reflective step in health promotion. How we think about health largely determines the types of action we take to promote health." This quote encourages us to reflect on the models of health we use and how we eventually promote health. Again, Let me restate. Understanding how we conceptualize health is a key reflective step in health promotion. How we think about health largely determines the type of action we take to promote health. These are the references I used for this lecture. Thank you very much for listening.